Hey everyone, I'm here with Deidre Sanford, and Deidre is a psychic medium.
Hmm.
She is a root therapist. Am I
Okay.
saying that right?
Root cause therapy.
What is it?
Root cause therapy.
That one. And she is an all-around awesome person.
Oh, thanks, Jack. So are you.
Absolutely. Hey, I have a question for you. So we've talked before a couple
Hmm.
times, and one of the things I find fascinating about you is that a lot of times when you talk to mediums, they have stories how they got into their mediumship when they were kids.
Hmm.
But that's not the case with you. Now, you've always been a medium and you've always had paranormal experiences, but isn't it true that you started getting into your mediumship skills later in life?
It's absolutely true that I started owning and developing them later in life.
Right.
Yes.
Now, how did that happen? Like, what happened where you decided that you needed to make that transition?
Spirit kind of said, hey, you know what? You don't belong where you are anymore, and you're not doing anything to help yourself by leaving. So we're going to force your hand, and you can no longer literally cognitively function to do this job.
How were they preventing you from doing things?
I went to work one morning just fine, got up, everything was normal, headed to work, and a couple hours into my work shift, I realized I can't do math. I can't
Mm.
keep track of information between the screen and the spreadsheet to do my report. My team was coming to my door and presenting me with concerns or issues that residents were bringing to their attention, and I was listening to the conversation and engaged in the conversation. I would open my mouth to discuss solutions and didn't remember what we had been talking about.
That sounds like a neurological thing like
That's
that.
what one would think. Yeah. And then I also, every time I stood up, I'm like, okay, is this going to be the time I pass out?
Right.
Neuro has told me for years, you're fine. There's nothing neurologically wrong with you.
So then what happened?
Mystery. It's a mystery. We still don't know. I have had several concussions, two diagnosed, and then two that we know were concussions but weren't diagnosed at the time.
Mm.
So one of the schools of thought on that is that those injuries can live in your brain tissue and then suddenly make themselves known. But I couldn't even, the test that they do in the hospital, I couldn't even draw the hands on the clock correctly.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was very bizarre.
How long did that last for?
That was in August, and I was finally released to go back to work either January or February of the next year,
When was this?
2020.
Okay.
Not COVID related, as far as anybody can tell.
Interesting.
Hmm.
So you really been developing your mediumship skills just the past couple years.
Yeah, I think I was using them
Sure, yeah.
without teachings, right? Not in any kind of capacity like, hey, I'm a medium, let me give you a reading.
Right.
But that's pretty much an accurate assessment. Yeah, I think, in fact, I spent a lot of my 20s and probably early 30s running from the voices in my head or just the things that I knew.
Now, but you've been a medium your entire life, and
Yeah.
you've had psychic ability. What are some things happened to you when you were a kid that let you let you know that you were different from other people?
I was always different from other people and bullied for it. But
I'll say
we,
this because I know you.
yeah.
Besides your psychic ability, you really are different from other people. Like you're so much, no, in a good way. You're so much more energetic than a lot of people that I know, and you're very witty. And there's this aura about you that like people want to. And I've heard this said to me about you by somebody else. They
Wow.
said like when I'm around her, I don't want to leave her presence.
Wow.
And I think that's how I feel too. Like every time I see you at places, I just want to keep talking to you. And I know the last time you and I saw each other, I think I even apologized because I was talking your ear off, which I never do. But it's just always fun to talk to you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
I will take that as a huge compliment. I don't, I have to sit with that a little bit.
I'll give you a couple
Thank
more
you.
before we're done.
Oh, don't, please.
But going back to childhood, like
Oh,
what are
man.
some things that happened that let you know you were different?
When I was 7, I got a stepdad,
Okay.
and we moved into a new house. And The stepdad part wasn't so shocking to me. My biological father had been checked out for quite a while.
Okay.
So I was ready for the stepdad. But the house itself scared me. After a certain point, as we get older and we lose the childhood creativity that we're innately born with and we start developing into adult brain, things are perceived different by us. So I think the first interesting experience that I can remember was in that new house, there was a glass on the counter in the kitchen. And there was nobody in the kitchen, but the glass flew off the counter.
Like a cup glass?
Like a glass, like like a tumbler.
Sure.
And it just boom off the kitchen counter. And my mom and my sister and I all sat stock still for a minute, like, wait, what just happened in there? And I was open enough to be curious.
Yeah.
Right? Let's go in the kitchen. Let's find out. It didn't just like slide off the counter with condensation. It flew off the counter. It wasn't right next to the cabinet supporting the counter. It was several feet away. That's probably the first thing that kind of clued me in I might be different because everybody else was a little freaked out. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. I wonder what made that happen.
Okay, yeah.
That same year, I walked my mom to the front of the house. There was a doorway that divided the back room, as we called it, that was in addition to the original ranch home. So to that doorway, we looked to the left, and I pointed over there toward the dining room. I said, Mom, do you see those people in the dining room? They're not here to hurt us.
And there's nobody there.
Well, as far as everybody else was
Right.
concerned, there was no one there. But Mom didn't know how to support it. She didn't negate it. She honored it as my experience, but she couldn't quite process and get behind it. And then
When that happened, how old were you?
I was 7.
Okay.
Until I was 18, I lived in that house, and I never wanted to be the last one up at night. Like stepdad would go to bed at 10:30 every night,
Yeah.
or right at the end of Johnny Carson's monologue. I was young enough; I needed to be in bed before that. But even as he got older, or I got older, that was still his pattern. I did not want to be the only person awake at night.
Yeah.
And if I happened to be, I was very uncomfortable. And I would go down the hallway to that same door where I pointed to the left with my mom. And I would peek around the corner to the left. And I would take off and run like a shot down the hallway into my bedroom, which was right at the end of the hallway. So I couldn't have the door open. The door got closed real quick. I would jump in bed, pull the covers up over my head. I kind of lived that meme. The one where the guy's going up the stairs and there's a shadow person behind him,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
That was my life in that house. I would house sit for my parents when they went out of state in the wintertime, and I was I was checking on the house, and I had a friend with me, and my friend actually said, "Oh, this is creepy." I'm like, "Ooh, what do you mean?" We were outside walking in the side lot of the house, and they're like, "I feel like somebody's watching me." Dude, I felt that way in that house for, I don't know, 12 years. 15 years, or not 15, but from the time I was 7 to 18, somebody else do the math, please, because I can't.
Neither can I.
That whole time I lived in that house,
Yeah.
it was a little creepy.
Did your mom start noticing that you had some sort of ability? I would imagine because usually it's usually what I notice it's the moms that start noticing.
It's interesting because as I reflect on life with Mom, there were some things that Mom would do or say that fall right into line with some of the more esoteric
Okay.
aspects of life or religion or belief systems. She had me I had warts on my hand when I was really little, like before I was 7. She would have me rub potato peel on it and then go bury the potato peel in the backyard.
Oh.
There were some things like that would just kind of be part of life.
That's interesting. That's like I don't know if you're familiar with it's called conjure, which is basically it's like an American version of voodoo. So
Okay.
within voodoo is conjure, or also known as root work.
That I get.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was whereas voodoo was developed by black slaves in the U.S., conjure and root work was developed by Appalachian people,
Oh, cool.
people of the mountains.
Nice.
So they would use, superstition. Well, maybe that's not the right word, superstition, but they would use just they would use their environment and they would kind of collect stories around them, and they would form a a folk belief system.
I was just going to say
Yeah.
folktales. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's so the potato thing. I've actually heard that before.
Still have never heard it from anyone other than my mom, so I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I really recommend looking into like Appalachian root work because it's fascinating.
Very
It'll
cool.
take you down a rabbit hole.
I like
So,
rabbit holes.
But
I think mom grew up on a lake in the woods. Not in the Appalachian Trail, but in Indiana. She grew up on a lakefront.
it might as well
She
be
was
the
always
Appalachian.
tramping in
Yeah.
the woods. She and her brothers would fish and hunt and trap. And she was always drawn to nature. And I think there was a lot more to that than she ever said. But, Jack, we're all born with abilities.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of what's out front, who supports us in our family system, in our society, in our community, and at what time in life we stop acting like we don't have abilities and really take a hold of them.
Everybody's born with abilities except for me. I have
Yeah,
nothing.
I don't believe that
I
for a
have
minute, but
nothing.
we've had that conversation.
Yeah,
I
know.
don't think
I
you
know.
want to have it now.
Yeah. Well, I told you were wrong, and I have no abilities.
You know what? I'm not here to change anyone's mind. I'm just here to
Maybe I
share
do.
the
I don't
information
know.
that I get.
I'm you know what? No, in all honesty, I think there's something to that. Maybe if we could all develop it, but we just have to be more in tuned.
More in tuned, or at some point realize that the things that have naturally been a part of you, your life, your understanding, the points from which you function and make decisions are such an innate part of you that you don't know that they're a gift or a skill or an ability. They're
Right.
just a part of me
Yeah.
or a part of you. And I think that's why I spent most of my 20s running from voices.
Well, see, no, that's really interesting because, and we've talked about this before. There was a big transition in your life, like in your 30s.
There are a couple of big transitions in my life.
Oh, I'm sure, but
Which one do you speak of, Jack?
the psychic one,
Oh, okay.
the psychic one.
I mean, they're all out on the table. You're fine, but
Actually, that does remind me because you had a collision, right? A car crash.
I did.
Now, was this before or after when you started to get into your psychic ability?
It was before.
Okay.
It was before I would know that I had any abilities at all. But the apartment in which I was living when we had that head-on collision, I saw some strange things.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was also an active addict. So I just chalked those experiences up to wherever I was in my addiction at that day.
In your 20s?
Yeah.
What were you addicted to?
Cocaine.
Oh, wow.
Only it was actually crack, but I cooked it myself. So I wasn't buying crack, I was buying cocaine, and I told myself it wasn't crack, it was cocaine. The tangled webs we weave, right? Within
You
our
know
own
what? You
lives
were
even.
right. You were right about that. No, I'm just kidding. No. So that's the only thing that you would do?
Well, yeah. I mean, we drank. But
Yeah.
drinking was easy for me to walk away from. The drugs, not as much.
But for drinking though, was it a lot of drinking?
Well, I don't know. I think that's subjective, but I think most people would say yes. I didn't think at the time I was doing anything unusual, but yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, ask me about my life in Colorado.
Well,
I'll ask what part because I don't remember a lot of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you're doing drugs, then the alcohol would be, not.
Yeah.
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 but-
Well, I was a bartender
okay.
in both Colorado and in Illinois and ran with bands. And so that was the environment in which I was soaked. But as I've gone through this journey of shadow work, trauma resolving, healing, all of those things, I've come to realize that not only was addiction a familial pattern,
Yeah.
my biological father was an alcoholic, but I was negating the voices in my head. I still saw things. I just pretended that I didn't, and I couldn't process them. It's almost like gaslighting yourself. Right? So
Right,
if I
yeah.
say to you, hey, do you see that corner, that face in the shadow over there? You're like, there's no face over there. That's one thing. You're simply not seeing what I'm seeing. But I know emphatically that I'm seeing what I'm seeing, but I can't process or make sense of it. So I'm telling myself it's not there. That's an internal struggle in and of itself.
Was the addiction a cover to get rid of the abilities?
In part.
Yeah.
The rest of it was trauma wounding and numbing and repeating patterns.
So there's been a lot of trauma
Who hasn't had trauma?
You're right.
I mean,
Everybody
seriously, and I'm not trying to be sarcastic about that at all, but when we look at like Gabor Mate's definition of trauma, it's not what happened to you, it's what happened inside you.
has.
And if any emotional cycle that we stunt and don't allow the emotion to finish its whole process gets stuck, that becomes traumatic. So who doesn't have trauma? We all do.
Yeah, we all do have trauma, but like I do feel like with a lot of psychics and a lot of mediums, like there was some hardcore trauma
sure.
in their life.
For sure. I was told once if I wanted to be a great healer, I should expect great injury.
Mm-hmm.
Took me a long time to figure out what that meant. Mediums, thankfully not I, to date, yikes, often experience near-death experiences or often have near-death experiences.
You're right.
That's kind of like what I understand to be a medium thing. Oh, you're a medium? Have you had an NDE?
Yeah.
It's kind of a normal question, I guess. I would say no, I have not.
But didn't you with the car crash?
The car crash. I don't remember losing consciousness in the car crash.
Okay.
That's the head-on collision in which I blew up my foot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there
There have been like 9 car accidents, and I never get the ticket.
Oh, you never got.
Never get the ticket.
Oh wow, that's a skill right there.
Rear end collision, head on collision. Yeah, go for it. Ugh. Thankfully, I think we're done with that cycle now.
When you started to, put yourself out there with your abilities, how did you start doing it? Because like again, that was a big transition right there.
Yeah.
Like you went from like, okay, I have these abilities, but I'm just living my life, and then you started vending at different places.
I did.
And you blew up pretty fast. You know people in Wisconsin.
I didn't know I blew up. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
No, I'm
Yes, you did.
serious.
You're known in Wisconsin. A lot of people like you, love you, and know you in Wisconsin. That's why you do events there.
Gives me warm fuzzies.
You do events in Indiana because they know you there.
I have not done an Indiana event yet.
You haven't?
Huh.
Okay.
I thought about doing Bell last year.
You know
and
what? That was
for some reason I couldn't.
That was
do
a premonition.
Oh,
You're
okay,
gonna-
thanks.
Yeah, this year you're gonna do something in Indiana.
I'll watch my calendar. Okay, Deidre. I don't know if you're watching, but if you hear this, give me a shout, will you?
And then
There was talk of that, to be honest, Jack.
was there
To
really?
go, do readings in Indiana. Yeah, it just didn't happen.
And in all in Illinois. So you are known, by the way, and you did blow up pretty fast. So how has that been for you?
Fun.
Yeah.
I have met so many amazing people through the paranormal events I've done. I was at your Chicagoland event as a vendor last year. I was there as a guest the year before that, and I'll bet you have no idea.
I did not.
Not
know.
only are you like a one-armed paper hanger all day that day, but at that point, even when I did my first event, which was Spirits in the Spring at Broadhead,
Okay, yeah.
I was hiding. I was sitting at my table with my little sign and my I don't think I even had cards at that point. I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, I'm here. I'm going to do readings. This is going to be great. I'm going to meet all these people. And I would sit, it was freezing cold, but
Yeah.
hunched
Oh,
up.
I was there for that. It was cold.
Oh, yeah. That's right. You were with Adrian.
Yeah.
Teeny, tiny, curled up in the very back corner. And I'd get up and I'd run around partly to stay warm and partly because if I stayed at my table, somebody might want to come and get a reading from me. And I wasn't sure I was ready for that. But eventually, through getting to know different venue groups, because most events and venues have specific people that are usually at anything that happens there. And I've been so fortunate to have met so many amazing people. Some of them are intriguing, and I just want to talk to them and like you and get all this information that you have in the back of your mind and just great personalities.
Yeah.
So many people have tried to make me feel welcome or been welcoming, both. That how do you help but get to be comfortable and feel good about a community?
Yeah.
So between paranormal, psychic fairs, holistic health fairs, wellness events, it's been amazing.
Look, honestly, I've said this before, like, and we both know, and everybody knows in this community, the paranormal community and the spiritual community, slash psychic community, it can be very toxic, but it can also not be. Like there are some great people in it.
Absolutely.
They're beautiful people, and you just kind of navigate through all of that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be. There's so many people that complain about how toxic it is, and to an extent it is true. But you just don't have to go in
In
those
that direction.
areas, or
Right.
associate with those people, or you could be professional with them. But and I feel like you've discovered that maybe without even really realizing it. But yeah, because every time I've seen you in various places, whether it's in Wisconsin or around here, you're in conversation for a long time with people, and it's because people like gravitate to you because you're not like that. Do you know what I'm saying?
I think that's the result of learning the lesson of discernment through years and years of bullying.
Yeah, discernment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And being a sensitive.
Right.
And you don't have to be clairsentient, right?
Mm-hmm.
To be sensitive to energy. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
There are degrees, right? We can be empathic and feel the shift in the room. And I think I fine-tuned that bartending in biker bars, right? but yeah, you learn the vibe. And honestly, I understand and I see, right,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on in the paranormal community. Not to the extent that some others do, for sure. But also, if we look at life in general, there's toxic people every place you
Everywhere.
go.
Yep.
Having worked in customer service for the majority of my life, some of it rolls off my back and I don't notice it anymore. But other times I just kind of, you get the vibe.
Yeah.
I know you do.
Yeah.
And you can kind of gauge, how much am I going to engage? How much of my energy am I going to put in front of me? And how much of my energy am I going to pull back in?
Right.
And that's not even necessarily anymore so much a safety thing, a protective thing. It's just kind of an automatic, I think.
Sure.
But yeah, I've just been so fortunate to have met the people that I've met, to have worked with the people that I've worked with. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Like I said, there's been so many nice people
Mm-hmm.
in here that it's. I want to actually ask you about the mediumship, and how the process that you do to contact the other side or contact spirit. What is that like? Like if if you were gonna do a reading for somebody, what do you do? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you focus? So, what's that?
Just closer to the mic. Yeah, a little closer to the mic.
Oh, like this?
Yeah. Actually, could you talk into this part?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Like,
Find that sweet spot.
yeah. Okay.
Testing 1 2 3.
Oh, this
Testing.
sounds great, yeah.
Oh,
So maybe move that to the other side.
oh. But
In
is
that cup that you said wasn't distracting?
yeah,
Was it?
yeah,
Too distracting.
Mike.
To me, it wasn't.
No, it's okay.
You know what?
I'm teasing.
Fired. Did that come through, Mike? Fired.
Promoted.
Actually, I need.
Promoted a guest.
Promoted.
I got the seat warm.
Actually, Mike, I need
Sorry,
you. Don't go
I'm the
anywhere.
guest now.
Would you like to tell us how you open up for your mediumship readings?
Yeah, can you tell us, Mike?
It's kinda
How I
fun.
do what?
How do you open up for your mediumship readings? I mean, you don't walk around open 24/7, right? That would just drive you bonkers.
Oh,
You'd be,
yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
looking at my grandma in the grocery store, and you don't need that. But when you choose to sit down and work with a client and talk to their dead people,
Sure.
how rude is that, right? But it always makes people laugh. What procedure do you go through?
Yeah, Mike. How do you
to
contact the
choose
other
to
side?
open?
Oh, it's just like, hey, how you doing?
We just created an editing nightmare.
Yeah.
didn't we?
It's your boy.
No, this is
It's a boy.
no, this is getting left in.
Yeah, this is part of the podcast.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, the way you asked him was far better than how I asked you. That's what I was trying to.
I don't know if it was any better, but
Oh, no,
yeah,
it
it
was.
was different
Because
because it's the way I think, not the way you think, right? So
yeah. How do you,
How do you
put
open
yourself
up?
in a position like mentally so that you can contact spirit?
that's interesting.
I think that's a
well. I
better
mean, as
way.
we were just joking with Mike, I can't walk around open. I had to learn to shut down.
Okay.
So I mean, like literally, no joke. I don't want to be running into your dead people
Mm-hmm.
when I'm out at the grocery store. or the shopping mall, or like I've been spending a lot of time at the hospital. I don't want to be talking to all those people all the time. So first I had to learn to shut down and acknowledge that I'm a medium.
So before, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Before you shut down, you were just hearing things all the time.
Yeah.
That probably explains the addiction, then, right?
Right.
Oh, okay.
So I was saying
okay.
I was like running from the voices in my head, and that can be either with psychic or with medium.
Right.
So it's like, let's learn to control it. Let's acknowledge it's there, and let's learn to control it. There are some tips and tricks that I've learned for that as well. And really what I need to do more is focus on opening, because I spent so much time intentionally with my closed sign on.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn to find my open sign. Well, I don't know. You came in and sat with me at one of my events for a while, and opening to spirit, whether it's mediumship or psychic, opening to spirit is kind of the same process for me, and that I need to ground myself.
Yeah.
And I talk to my team, my spirit guides, guardians, angels, holy helpers, medic angels, healers, past, present, and future, Heavenly Father, Earth Mother, my ancestors, and let them know, hey, I'm open. It's go time. Let's do this. And, I'm looking to receive clear, concise messages and highest and best interest of whoever sits down and asks me for a reading today. And recently have added in love and light, and only in love and light.
So basically, you put out the intention that you're ready to communicate, and it kind of opens the floodgates.
It does. Doesn't as much as it used to. And I haven't run into anything really creepy crazy. Even out on paranormal investigations with Shadow Hunters, Paranormal Investigations and Events, I'm one of their mediums. Yeah. I haven't run into anything icky. Some things that are creepy. But when we narrow that focus by adding the in love and light and in love and light only, then we're narrowing it even more.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't want yuckies. I don't want their yuckies if they have any yuckies. We're staying right here. We're staying with this person, and we're bringing in information that is only for their highest and best.
Mm-hmm.
And I also look at for their highest and best as kind of also saying in a safe way, because I have gotten information that maybe this person's conscious mind isn't quite ready to wrap itself around. So the subconscious mind will sometimes give me information kind of with a international no sign on it during psychic.
Yeah.
But it's mostly the same way. I will more specifically say, I don't know, Fred Smith, whoever's sitting in front of me, has asked to communicate with his ancestors who wish to come forward and speak with him. A little bit more specific sometimes. It really just depends upon the vibe of the person.
Okay.
But the meat and potatoes of the intention when I open is the same. Where I go from there depends on the person, depends on what kind of vibe is coming through.
So, depending on who you're talking to, that depends on the spirit that comes through, the type of spirit, or could it be any? Could it be an angel, archangel, ancestor?
When I'm doing mediumship with clients at events or clients by Zoom, I'm focused on the specific person who's in front of me.
Yeah.
So messages from ancestors or ancestors belonging to this person. And when I narrow it to ancestors, it kind of helps filter out Mike's Uncle Fred.
Yeah.
As opposed to your people.
Yeah. You hear that, Mike? Uncle Fred is...
Yeah, I don't know if you have an Uncle Fred, but, we'll just make that up.
Is Uncle Fred alive, or...?
I think he died.
Oh,
There
yeah,
you
okay,
go.
there
See?
you go. There you
Mediumship.
go.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Actually, I did have an uncle when I was a kid. He died of a drug overdose.
Was it Fred?
I think so.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
Uncle Fred.
Yeah.
You're pulling my leg.
Rest in peace, Fred.
Rest in peace, Fred.
That would have been a
yes.
lucky guess. I am not open.
Okay, so that it narrows it down then, because you're trying to contact, people that individual knew.
Yeah, I want to talk to the high vibe folks. I don't want to talk to the low vibe folks.
Yeah, but when but when you're doing readings though, do angels ever come through?
I am probably, but I'm not aware.
Oh, okay.
I haven't set an intention that I wanted to learn to work with angels. I'm sure I might be open to it. my brain might say, oh yeah, let's work on developing relationships with angels, but that's not something that I have explored yet. I'm usually higher self, your spirit guides, or
Yeah.
your ancestors.
Okay. That's actually really refreshing because when I talk to a lot of mediums,
Yes.
it's like they're able, and maybe they are, but they're able to communicate with like everything and anything.
Some
And
people can.
I know some people
Yeah.
can, but not that's a skill to be able. That's a medium skill to be
Mhm.
able to communicate with anything and everything.
Yeah.
You know, and I just don't feel like every single one of them I talk to is really in communication with that many, discarnate
Fair.
beings.
That's fair.
You know,
And I've had friends who could see brownies.
sure, yeah.
I've seen the fairies.
Oh,
That's,
so you have
that's
seen
not
fairies?
mediumship, but I've seen the fairies,
Okay.
and especially in Ireland. Yeah. Excuse me.
How did he come to you?
Trees. I talked to trees. How did it come to me? Ireland was an interesting experience for me anyway, as open as I was.
Mhm.
And so Ireland, England, Scotland, I kept walking into either parallel realities or past lives. I haven't quite dug into how do I differentiate between the two.
Okay.
Um,
But you just know it.
it would just happen in Ireland. I wasn't very well trained
Mm-hmm.
at that time. I had had some training to be open, but again, I didn't really know how to close it. I didn't know how to shut it down. So I saw and heard a lot of things that surprised me. I was touched in the tunnels in Edinburgh. I was standing at the gates at Edinburgh Castle, just as me, a normal tourist in my raincoat with my scarf around my neck, watching people, waiting for other members of my group. And all of a sudden, there were these soldiers, warriors, what do you call it? That's horrifying. I can't think of the name. On horseback
Okay.
in their little uniforms that were coming back in from war. Some of them were bloodied. They were all certainly dirty and stinky because they'd been out in the fields. And I looked down and I was dressed as like a scullery maid. I don't even know if that's the proper term, but I had on the apron and a floor-length dress, and I was carrying buckets of water. And I saw myself turn to follow them further into the castle, through the grounds to certain areas of the castles, and apparently it was my task. I just knew it was my task to help them bathe and get ready for the dinner.
So that could.
Strange things,
Yeah. So it could be a past life, or it could be a parallel universe, or they could really be one and the same, right?
They probably could be, but I haven't experienced it that way, which is why I say I haven't really worked hard to differentiate between parallel and past lives. When we use past life in timeline therapy, in my holistic therapy practice, but as far as applying that to my experiences, at the time I didn't even know there was such a thing as a parallel reality. So it never occurred to me to try to figure out what it
Okay,
was.
yeah.
But just like walking down the street in, Lancaster, by Lancaster Castle, I'd be like, those are the same stained glass windows that were there when I was here. I knew where I was going, walking up to the castle. I'm like, I used to live right there. And I went and I stood in front of the doorway and I had somebody take my picture. I don't know.
When you see stuff like
Timelines?
that, and those people, those men on horses, and you see yourself in that dress, how does it?
Knights. There we go. Knights. Yes.
Knights, yes. I couldn't think of it either. How does it appear to you? Like, are you still able to see what's actually there, or?
No, that one was absolutely first person. Like I was having the experience.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So it's not even in your mind's eye. It was like right. It was right there.
It was different. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And since then, have you experienced things like that here?
I don't think so.
No.
No, that was, 15 years ago almost. 13, 15 years ago.
I bet it was because it's Ireland.
Well, talk about I
Yeah.
wasn't grounded. Well, but that's interesting because absolutely each geographic location has its own energy for sure. When I lived in Arkansas, tons of unmined quartz crystal in the ground, right? That was really early 30s. That was really the time that I was forced to start coming to terms with I could hear things and see things that other people couldn't. I was working in assisted living, and I would be just typing away at my desk, having just a fine day, and all of a sudden my mood and emotional state would completely change. And it took me a little bit to figure out that the family member with whom I had just engaged, I picked up their emotions as though they were mine.
Oh,
I was afraid to go to the doctor because I thought they were going to throw me in the loony bin.
Right.
But one of the women with whom I worked was the first person who really saw me for who I am and helped me to kind of understand I was also living in a home that was haunted. And that was my first paranormal investigation, was my own place that I was renting in Arkansas, in Springdale, not too far from Pea Ridge. And the day I turned in my application to rent that home, I went back for the second tour of the house. We met the owner, who was local realtor, handed him the application, and stood in the kitchen bawling my eyes out. And nobody knew why. I didn't even know why. Well, I found out later when the paranormal investigation team came through, there was a little boy ghost in my kitchen who was lost and always crying and scared because he didn't know where his family was. Oh, okay. Figure that one out. But it took a couple of months of being back in that frame of mind of being uncomfortable, feeling as though I was being watched. It got to the point where I was being drained. I would come home from work at 5 in the afternoon, fall asleep in my chair by 5:30, sleep for 2-3 hours, get up, eat something, go to bed. And then that's when things would get really weird.
Were you ever able to make peace with
Eventually I
those
did.
ghosts?
The Northwest Arkansas, they're disbanded now or have a different name. Paranormal investigation team, or ghost hunters maybe, came and did an investigation at the house. And when they first came in, they said, "Oh, have you talked to the spirits of your house and told them we're coming and why we're here?" I'm like, no, I try not to talk to them because the one I call Haggard is really freaking scary. And they're like, you need to go sit down and talk to them and explain to them why we're here. Because you have, okay, I'm going to say the O word. You have orbs in your house. And they said 2 of them are like white and happy, and one of them is red, and he's very angry, and he does not want us here. And I'm like, oh, that must be Hagrid. What did I know at the time?
Yeah.
But there was a man who would pace back and forth in my bedroom. And I look back, I'm like, how did I know he was a man? I don't know. I just knew. Maybe nervous. There was a gentleman who I nicknamed Hagrid because his energy was imposing. And he felt really like Hagrid, larger than life, scary dude. We all know Hagrid wasn't scary, but that was the only thing I could
I'm sorry,
equate
who's
his size
Hagrid?
to.
Who's Hagrid?
Hagrid from Harry Potter.
Oh.
I just nicknamed the spirit in my house Hagrid.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I've never seen Harry Potter.
Oh,
so.
okay. He's this really tall dude with a lot of hair, and he's friends with all of the animals. Like all the cryptids are his friends.
Oh, okay.
He's super soft-hearted.
Have you guys seen Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I've seen
okay.
all of them.
There's like, how many are there? Like,
Deathly Hallows Part 2.
I think there's like 6 or 7.
and then there's the spin-offs. I haven't watched.
I
any of
haven't
those.
seen
It's
those,
funny
yeah.
because that was like one of the last series I had binged with an ex-girlfriend of mine,
Oh, really?
and now I'm watching them again.
But
the
did you
new
read the book?
I haven't seen the new ones, so
They're good. They're all really good.
I'll have to check them out.
Yeah.
we are almost at 40.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're almost
We're
at
not
40.
quite there, but we're almost.
Okay.
I nicknamed him Hagrid, but he used to skulk about and make me really nervous. And I got mad at him one night and yelled at him and told him GTFO. And I walked in the kitchen to get something to drink later, and I knew. Didn't see him, but I knew he was standing looking in the kitchen window pouting at me because I'd thrown him out of the house. But Arkansas blew me open, right? Quartz crystal. It's a charger.
Right.
It's powerful. It's going to blow things open. And there's so much unmined quartz crystal in the ground there that when they started moving earth to widen one of the roads, my little bright light just attracted all of the spirits that were attached to the earth. I had all kinds of stuff going on in that house. But that's kind of when I figured out, hey, I was in the shower and suddenly realized I was having a full-on two-sided conversation with some woman in my head. I'm like, okay, you need to get out of the bathroom now.
Right.
Whatever. So, yeah, that was crazy experiences.
Yeah, it seems like you're it's been a gradual process for you to realize, because you said in this discussion, you said a couple different things where in my head I'm like, okay, that's the point where she came upon her mediumship skills.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, well, okay, this is the point. So it's like,
Yeah.
am I correct? Like,
Yeah.
it was a gradual process.
Well, I think that's why I say Spirit finally said, you already know.
You're at 40.
Oh, okay.
You already know who you are. You've had these experiences. You can no longer deny them. You've had other people support you in experiences that you were having that you couldn't make sense of. And now it's time to own who you are and incorporate it and utilize it and be the service person that you are here to be in this lifetime.
Yeah.
So I started taking classes. But it's the kind of thing that once you experience it and understand what you're experiencing, you can no longer deny it.
Yeah.
I literally thought I was losing my mind.
I bet. Yeah.
So I shut it down again for a while because it was a lot. And then I literally lost my executive functioning. And most of what I was dealing with every day, I would have to deal with working around my conscious mind. So I was forced into accepting, understanding, and functioning from the point of those gifts, whether they be psychic or mediumship. At that time, it was more psychic, because we'd done the mediumship thing.
Well, it's like you said, you were forced into realizing. So it's as if spirit, kind of just like jolting you into that path.
Yeah.
Now, when you do a reading, or I should say, when you do healings, because you're a healer as well.
Well, mediumship readings, psychic readings, those can be healing as well. But yes, I am also an energy worker.
You're an energy worker. That's what I'm talking about. When you're conducting energy work, how do you feel when you're conducting that work?
Open. Sometimes, like, I got 220 running through a 110. Like, I'm the 110 and here comes the 220, and really, really, really aware. Like, I can feel the aches, pains, discomforts, upset tummies that my clients have. I used to function much more empathically. Like, I'd walk into a room and be like, okay, who's got the headache? I don't pick that up so much anymore unless I choose to do so. And that's usually in mediumship when they're showing me their symptoms. But just wide open and light.
Because you're a root cause therapist as well.
Yep.
So can you tell us about that?
Holistic therapy.
Holistic therapy.
Trauma. There are certain things we can say and we can't say here in the States. Like, I can't say I'm a therapist.
Right.
I can't claim that this particular modality provides relief for some specific things, but I can say that at the center in Australia where this modality was developed, it was a mental health and addiction center.
Okay.
I work with my clients more or less. The point of it is, right, we want to get to the root, hence the name, of why this pattern, whatever that pattern may be. Limiting beliefs. We believe things about ourselves that aren't necessarily true and are then holding ourselves back from being our highest and best self, or holding ourselves back from goals that we have that we don't believe we're worthy of achieving. So we work on ferreting out what those limiting beliefs are and resolving or reframing those limiting beliefs through trauma release, somatic releasing, and coming back with lessons rather than injuries.
Is this a discussion-based therapy?
It is some talk therapy. However, it's more, instead of a top-down therapy, like talk therapy, it's more bottom-up.
Okay.
In somatic releasing, essentially the goal is understanding that we experience everything in our lives today through the lenses that we adopted.
Sure.
Adopted.
Yeah.
Through which we view our lives. So we're actually viewing the present moment through the past. Well, let's clear those emotional lenses. If we have all of this emotional stuff stuck in our system, and sometimes more often after enough time, or if it's ancestral at a cellular level, as we complete the emotional cycle, we release all of that. So when we release an anger that comes up, we remove the lens. We release frustration. move the lens, and release hurt, abandonment, pick what emotion you're abandoning. Now you're losing those lenses and you get a clearer picture of the actual event. So I will say to my clients, so now that we've cleared all of these emotions, what is the truth of the event? And they come up with their own new understandings.
So basically,
Like,
you're
they
guiding
were never
them.
angry about
Yeah.
me. I'm guiding them on their journey down their timeline
But they're
back
figuring it
into
out.
an event, but they're finding their own answers.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, we
That's
use a light
awesome.
meditative state so that they're conscious to remember to bring back these learnings.
Mm-hmm.
But it's enough that they're able to drop back down into the event through their own eyes and re-experience things.
Okay.
Oh, who's with you? What's happening? Oh, well, so-and-so just said this or did that. Some of the things that I've experienced as a client of that modality included being in a positively nasty white gown in the deep, dark depths of a dungeon on a dirt floor with no will to live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does your psychic ability come into play when
Absolutely.
you're using that?
Mediumship has come into that. Psychic comes into that. My energy worker comes into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Do you do Reiki?
I am attuned to late Reiki level 2. I never went for anything beyond that. And when I discovered pranic healing, that felt to me more of a complete system.
Okay.
So when I use my energy working abilities, I guess, or training, then I focus more on the pranic healing than I do on Reiki. But they're very similar.
You're going to be at my convention
I
on
am.
June 7th.
I am.
What are you going to be doing there? Are you just going to be doing readings, or are you going to do anything else?
I don't do a whole lot of my root cause therapy stuff at Paranormal.
Okay.
The flyer's on the table. Anybody that wants to know about it or ask about it, I'm more than happy to talk about it. But usually when I do paranormal events, I offer readings. Yeah.
So before we go, do you think I could get a very brief reading for 2025?
I don't do predictions. You know why?
Well, no, not predictions.
Well,
like
reading for
what's-
2025.
No. For me, like what's coming up for? What do I need to look out for? What could I be hopeful for?
Well, let me get some water and hydrate.
Okay.
I didn't know we were going here. Surprise reading.
Okay. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I need to rehydrate too. Mike, do you got to
I'm s-
rehydrate?
I'm surprised you asked, to be honest.
No, I'm good. I'm all hydrated.
You're surprised I asked?
I am surprised you asked.
Why?
Because you don't ask everyone.
Well, okay, so we talked about this
I know.
before. I don't tend to ask, but when I got that reading from you a while back ago,
That's
it was a really good reading actually.
I'm glad your team handed you all that information, Jack.
So, okay,
Um,
so
Here's-
my team, you said.
Yeah.
So, I want to know more about my team because in my
Let's
head,
talk-
my only team are these guys, and
okay, your
they're gonna
spirit
abandon
team,
me.
Spankers.
your spirit team, your higher self. What's going on with work? What are you shifting in the workplace? What do you hope to shift in the workplace? Because I don't feel like this is something that's going to come up and blindside you. I think it's something that you've been sitting with for quite a while. You weren't real sure that you were 100% ready to make the shift. And I feel like you're getting ready to do it scared. I don't feel like you're going to walk away from, and the keywords when your psychics talk to you, the keywords, I feel, right? I don't feel like there's a whole lot of scary nervousness behind it. There's some nervousness, but it's more excitement than nervousness.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's planned. It's not going to come out of nowhere. Like nobody's suddenly going to yank your job out from underneath you. But the sense I was getting is that you're going to slowly pull back from that position and start opening more doors like this one. We know you had the con. You've had it for years. Now you're stepping out here. You've been speaking. There's more coming. And I think we talked about this in the fall as well, because I think I remember challenging you and saying, okay, so when are you going to step out?
Right.
When are you going to put yourself out more forward? But you're doing it scared. And that's kind of the only way to do it.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say that too. Like, I don't know how else to do it, but
Right. Well, you have to recognize that what you want to go, where you're being drawn to, and almost pushed to, but more drawn than pushed, is bigger for you to follow your passion than the fear.
yeah.
Princess Diaries stuff right there, guys. Um, so your team will use my life experience as the library to communicate to me, and then we can put those two and two together, and that's why that Princess Diaries line came through. May not be significant to you, but it is significant to me, and it talks about
Sure.
understanding that your courage is more important. That there are things that are more important than your fear, and stepping forward and stepping out anyway. And I love watching you blossom and grow.
Oh.
It's the passion. There are a couple of pieces of things that you're passionate about that you want to bring forward, but you won't until you get your feet more solid in territory that you're super comfortable with. Like the things that people already know that you know and that you're all about, those are coming up. Those are here. You're stepping into that really readily. What you're holding back from is some of the other, wow, you have such a vast knowledge base. Some of the other things that you know and you really dig into that you're not really sure that the majority of the public is ready for, but you're ready for it and you need it out there. And that's what you're supposed to do, is open those doors and plant those seeds for other people. So this is like training ground, right?
Okay,
To get
yep.
your feet wet, get more comfortable, gain your confidence, and then you're going to start branching out into bringing in some other things. And I'm not letting any cats out of bags here.
No,
I'm
yeah.
seeing them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to let them go.
I know.
'cause
Yeah,
that's yours.
I know exactly what you're
Okay.
talking about. Yeah.
Community. You've always had a fairly vast community. Lots of different pockets of people here and there. You've held yourself back in some of in aspects in some of those groups. Other groups you step more forward. You're a great chameleon, and you're really good at, when you choose to be, at hiding what's going on up here. You're not doing as much of that. You're picking and choosing your groups and your community more carefully. You've gotten to a point you're like, okay, I'm overloaded and I don't have time for that behavior, that mindset, or this mindset. So y'all can step to the side. You don't have to go anywhere, but you have to step to the side because this is what's important to me. This is what is true. And this is what feels right. You're a little heebie-jeebie over here yet, but don't go too far because you're still good people. You're just not where I need to be. And I need to be over here.
Yeah. See, Rob and
community
Mike,
shifting.
you guys need to be over there. I don't want you guys to go away. Just
I
be
don't
over there.
think
Stay
I
in our
said
lanes.
that.
Just
I don't
I got it.
recall saying that.
it's about them, right, Deidre? Deidre?
No.
Yes, it's them.
Actually, you guys
Well,
are
she
part,
didn't say that.
You guys
but
are kind of part
Jack
of the
said
new.
that.
You guys are part of the new Jack.
That's actually true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is.
That's
that
very
is
true.
Y'all
Yeah,
aren't going anywhere. In fact, you're going along for the ride.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's a new team and it's a solid team, and I feel like there's another one coming in to join all y'all, and you're going to be super picky about who that is, and you should be. You guys are going to get a vote. No, I'm serious.
No.
When you
I
add
second
somebody to an existing team, it
Yeah.
changes the energy altogether.
Yeah.
And you already know this. So when that time comes, and I give it like 3-4 months, when that comes, you guys are going to have like a roundtable discussion and feel through
Interesting.
all of it.
Oh man.
And you will come together to find just the right person that fits the team. And the first one is good, but the second one's even better because we have to learn. And if this person doesn't figure out how they're going to completely acclimate to this group, they're going to get replaced. And I don't feel like you're going to have to say, you know what, this isn't working. I think they're going to be like, I'm not really fully comfortable and I'm going to just move on. It's not a bad thing. It's not a big tumultuous, hairy drama, anger thing. It's
Sure.
just a thing.
Is this like a business relationship? Is
Yeah.
this a girl coming? Oh, okay. Oh, a
Yeah, I was
business-
talking about
Okay.
about your business community.
Okay, guys.
And yeah, I know it's Valentine's Day, but we're not going to play those. I hate those. What's wrong with my boyfriend? I don't know. Ask him.
He hates you. He's cheating on you.
Yeah, well,
That's- he is.
I would never say it like that.
Oh, I would. That's why I'm not a psychic.
Ah, it's in the delivery. It's in the delivery. But yeah, this thing's growing.
I hope so. I
Yeah.
hope so. I mean, I think I have a great team here. I mean,
Mhm.
I couldn't do it without these guys. You know. Well, maybe I could, and I'll just find somebody better. But you know,
I'm
I
not,
don't know.
I'm not touching that.
Where can people get a hold of you if they want a reading or if they need root cause therapy? Where could they get a hold of you?
I am at my website, which is my name, and it's really long and complicated. It's DEIDREL, S as in Sam, A, N as in Nancy, N as in Nancy, F as in Frank, OR, D as in David.com, or Deidre and Friends, and it's the shift 7 ampersand. It's not AND. Deidre and Friends business page or Deidre and Friends private group.
Okay, that was a lot. I'm gonna put that in the show notes so people could find it.
Perfect.
I'll put text on the screen.
Especially since I can't spell my own name tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
coming.
I'm so excited for this new adventure of yours, and it's really an honor to be a part of it, Jack.
Well, like I told you the last time that we talked, like I'm excited for your future
Thank you.
because it's really blossoming, and I'm excited to see where you're gonna go next
Me
because
too.
you're also doing a lot. It's always really fun to talk to you, and I actually do have like a ton more questions, but like I I don't want to overload you or anybody else.
Or make
so,
these guys stay any later than
yeah,
they
exactly.
have to.
Yeah, they kept giving me the signal like we need to get the hell out of here. No, they didn't. No, they were really invested. Right.
I remember all those signals.
Where's that from?
My radio show days.
Oh, okay. That would make sense.
Your producer's on the other side going, shorten it. Oh, draw it out. We got 3 more seconds. Draw it out.
Okay.
And we're out.
Um,
And we're done.
Yeah, I do have a ton more questions, but that's why I'm gonna have to have you back on because I want to get more. I feel like I got in depth right now, but I want to get more in depth into what you do and stuff because there's a lot to
Rabbit
it.
hole.
Yeah, it is a rabbit
Yeah.
hole. It really is, especially when somebody like myself and a lot of people that are gonna see this, which is like 2 people. They're gonna
I'm 1, so let's make it 3.
okay, 3. They're gonna want to know like it's such a fascinating lifestyle, the lifestyle of a psychic, because it is because we don't, us non-psychics, or I should say us people that haven't developed that skill, we're fascinated by it because there's a lot to it, and you're over here communicating with the other side.
Mhm.
So I'd want to get in on that more.
You can do
But-
it, Jack.
Yeah, we'll see. But thank you so much for coming, and we'll wrap it up here, guys. Thank you.